Mary was going to introduce you, June, but due to the technical difficulties, it makes more sense that I do it from here. So thank you for being here. Everyone, June Pardue is a tremendous Alutiiq Sugpiaq artist who comes from Old Harbor. She is Zooming with us from her home in Sutton today, and we're so pleased to have her. She is an incredible fish skin artist, gut skin artist. She makes jewelry, she makes grass socks, she makes just about anything and everything you can imagine. And we've hosted her before as an artist in residence, and we're so pleased to have had her agree to share a story. She's also a writer and a storyteller. So June, thanks for being back with us. Much appreciated.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. And now we just kind of like shift gears, and we're not into business, but we're into dumping our brains and going into a story. I can't remember what I shared the last time I was with you, but it had something to do with Tuntuq, who is an Alutiiq hunter, and he's a chief hunter in Nunyak village. In the old days, Nunyak was what is now Old Harbor Village on Kodiak Island. We're going to continue on to another chapter that I wrote, and these may not be in sequence, but you'll get the gist of what the book will be about. In the morning, frigid, dense island fog covered Nunyak, a Sugpiaq village on Kodiak Island. The early morning cloak was wet and heavy, making it hard for Sugpiaq to get out of bed. She could feel cold air trickling into the sod house, so she snuggled deeper into her sea otter blanket. Beneath her was a layered sleeping pad. First a grass-woven mat was laid down, then a tan sea lion hide mattress was placed on top of that. The mattress was stuffed with tundra tea sprigs, and as Sugpiaq settled into comfort, she recalled her aunt explaining how the long, green, and rusty sprigs could be used to keep bugs away. Snuggled under her blanket, Sugpiaq relished the earthy, pungent aroma of her bedding. Head tucked under the furry, soft covering and feeling content, Sugpiaq closed her eyes and listened to morning clamoring in the sod house. Talstachuk, Tuntuq's wife, which is Sugpiaq's aunt, got a fire started by blowing on sleeping embers. Small, dry beech twigs were added to the pit to hold a hot fire that was needed for cooking and to warm their earthen lodge. 2 medium-sized bentwood boxes were filled with part way with spring water, then put on the dirt floor next to the fire pit. Beech rocks were getting hot in the fire, waiting to be dipped into the boxes to bring the water to boil. Sugpiaq, snuggled beneath her fur blankets, could smell the rocks heating up. Then she listened to sizzling water as her aunt dipped one hot rock at a time into the cold water. Soon her aunt would make an herb tea in one cooking box and a meal in the other. Sugpiaq, warm and cozy, began to drift off into an early morning dream where she heard barefooted children running on the beach. Their feet softly pounded on summer growth. She noticed that peeping out of mud and behind a pile of twisted driftwood were crawling vines that graced light lavender flowers. It looked like someone had randomly thrown small tufts of gnarly greenery that reached out to slate blue stones too. And new patches of sharp, short, sea green weaving grass shoots were growing in slow motion time. As grass sprouted, Sugpiaq could hear soft whispering music, keeping in time to little pudgy brown feet running quickly past eroding beach banks. She glanced at embankments where dried, thinly snarled, light brown roots were reaching out to children's feet, as if to tickle them. Those same roots were used for scraping against eating utensils, and they were used in the sod steam house too, to scrub dirt off feet and hands. You know how dreams are. In her dream, Sugpiaq wondered why the children were not picking those prized roots Instead, all she saw and heard were little feet, and as they whizzed past Sugpiaq, she began to hear soft chanting in the distance, and drums were beating to the rhythm of her heart. The soft pounding of barefooted children running over the earth turned into paced beats for a dance. Seagulls began swaying in the air, wings flapping and whooshing, as if to dance in tune to the earth's song and children's singing voices. Seagulls sung their song too, beautiful, long, repeated, high-pitched notes, undertones that sounded like dance rattles in nature's orchestra were made by the soft in and out lapping of ocean water moving over rolling beach pebbles. Rhythmic splashes of salmon jumping in the water sounded like multiple echoes of soft feathery water skipping into the air then landing on skin drums. The earth sounded like nature singing an enchanted worship song to its creator. You know how dreams are. You can wake up, right? Well, Sugpiaq woke up when she heard her aunt's sharp squeal, "Appa! This is hot." Tuntuq burned her fingers while she was trying to get the steaming hot fish out of the wooden box. Sugpiaq peeked through the meshed woven grass room divider that hung between her sleeping space and the gathering room. She saw that boiled, dried humpies were arranged on top of wild and pungent celery leaves. Then peeled and sliced celery stalks were sprinkled over the fish. A dipping oil made of seal blubber had been poured into large white clam shells, and tightly woven spruce root cups were filled with an aromatic salmonberry leaf tea. Sugpiaq's growling tummy spurred her into a dressing frenzy. She heard her uncle approaching while she was putting on a dress that was made out of de-haired seal hides. She heard her uncle's approach into the gathering room. His long, wide feet were bare. Uncle Tuntuq's weight shifted smooth, flat rocks against each other, making a grinding noise against their earthen floor. Sugpiaq could tell by her uncle's quick movements that he too was hungry. As Tuntuq entered their sod house, he heard his wife humming an old song. It was a story about traders and hunters who traveled northwest by water and overland to Yupik country. Tuntuq joined his wife by singing words to the song, his voice strong and deep. Sugpiaq got into the singing before it was over with, and the family sat around the fire pit to visit while they ate. All too soon, they were reminded by loud voices that the hunting party needed to prepare for their departure. Children were running back and forth between sod houses and to the beach where 1 and 2 hatched kayaks were lined up in a row. All the kayaks faced the ocean. Children were excited and eager to help, all talking loudly, laughing, moving gear, singing, and working at trying to get to the beach faster than other children near them, as if they were racing or trying to win a timed game. Men and women, too, were carrying supplies to the beach. They were systematically laying down piles of harpoons, grass-woven kneeling mats, rolled up sea mammal tarps, seal stomach floats, dried foods in flat, round bentwood boxes, sinew-braided ropes, flint for fire making, hunting visors, and full-crowned bentwood hats. Atlatls for throwing spears and bone-carved halibut hooks were there too. Drummers and dancers were off to the side. They were singing chants and dancing for the hunting crew. Some were thanking the Creator for who they were, stomping their feet, making motions to the sky, sometimes with hands held over their hearts. Each motion had a meaning. This was a man's dance, a powerful dance taught to them by the Yupik. A dance that expressed thankfulness for the hunter's vision into the future, a dance to honor and thank their Creator for making them who they were. Sugpiaq providers. When the dance ended, men were ready to launch their watercraft. First, they needed to get into kneeling position, then they pulled their bare gut raincoats on. Garment wrists were tightened with a braided sinew drawstring. Next, they sealed themselves into the watercraft by bringing the hem of the raincoat over the grooved hatch. They cinched the hem of their garment over the kayak hatch by pulling and tying off more braided sinew strings. Tuntuq, the chief hunter, performed a test to be sure that no water entered the hatch of his kayak. He used a paddle to turn himself upside down in the water. Then by using his paddle, Tuntuq maneuvered himself into an upright position. He called this rolling in the water. Children on the beach cheered him on, some pounding on skin drums and others hooted and howled with pleasure as they witnessed other hunters copying Tuntuq. It was time for the team to launch out to sea. Tuntuq took lead in paddling his kayak away from the beach. Others streaked through the water into V formation. Then they began their voyage to the southwest. As the men paddled, Taltachek's heart, Taltachek is Tuntuq's wife, became unsettled. Resounding in her heart were Tuntuq's morning speech. We should return by the next moon. This will be a long hunting trip because of the upcoming gathering of villages before winter sets in. With an edginess in his throat and in his voice, Tuntuq continued with his address to Nunyak residents and related, "The second chief will remain with you. We also leave behind a warring party to look after all of you, and upon our return, we will bring back a winter's supply of food." Sugpiaq and her aunt watched as men paddled out to sea until all they saw were dots in the horizon. This is where I stop. And when I come back for another story, sometime we'll hear about Sugpiaq and her little life. Thank you. Qianate Luji.
So Rosemary will be coming on in just a moment.
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Rosemary, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
At least I can.
And thank you very much, June. That was wonderful. And we look forward to hearing more from you. And I believe that concludes our program and our meeting, unless someone has something else for the good of the order.
I have something for the good of the order. This is Jackie, and I just wanted to invite everyone to stay online because we are now going to take some time to celebrate Robert Hoffman, who's retiring, sadly, from the Sheldon Jackson Museum. This is his last day, and thanks to the efforts of Rosemary and the board,
Anywhere?
we have a beautiful cake and some other things to give him and some things from staff. And we just want to enjoy our time with him before he leaves for the day at 4:30. And I invite anyone to share a story about Robert. If you have a happy anecdote or anything like that, or express well wishes, please just unmute yourself and do so.
I'm going to stop recording, Jackie, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.